Rolling along in hour number 3 right here on the Early Line, Sirius XM Channel 159 on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Donnie Rightside. He's Joe Ranieri, and we welcome in Major League Baseball insider right here on the grid. It's Craig Mish. We got opening day on Thursday. The anticipation, Craig. Let's get it going.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'll be at the Marlins-Pirates game on Thursday, so that'll be the first baseball game that I go to, regular season game that I go to this season. I'm all ready for that. But, I think naturally baseball's done a really good job, set some really good matchups, I think, for opening weekend. And, yeah, it all begins on Thursday. 162 games. People forget how long the baseball season is, and I can't wait for it to get going.
Thursday afternoon in Philadelphia, Craig. I can't wait for it either. Spencer Strider going up against Zach Wheeler, toe-to-toe, Braves and the Phillies. But before we get there, I don't think Major League Baseball likes this story to hype up opening day. Shohei Ohtani in the news, not for being an MVP, not for being a $700 millionaire here at this point. It's questions about him, his interpreter, and the gambling space here. What do you know about what's going on in Major League Baseball right now, Craig, with the Ohtani situation?
Well, look, there's a couple of different things. I could say, first and foremost, the one thing that I can speak to is from a PR standpoint and from the way that this is handled. I can, from experience in covering sports, say that I think that this has not been the best look and not been the best job of handling that. Now, as far as what is actually going on with Ohtani and his interpreter and whether or not everything that he's saying is accurate and true, I really have no idea. There are some people, some translators that I've seen and some former players who are sort of rushing to Ohtani's defense, saying it's not unreasonable to think that the interpreter had access to all of his banking accounts and everything going on and, wiring this money back and forth. They're saying it's not an unreasonable ask, but it does seem a little bizarre in the amounts that these are just simply not being paid attention to. And I think in our daily life, no matter what financial scope we're on, whether we looked at our accounts. We all have bank accounts. Maybe we don't check them every single second of every day. But if we saw $500 or $1,000 or $10,000 going to an odd account, I think it would raise a red flag for all of us here. That part is kind of hard to believe. But at the same time, Major League Baseball will do their investigation, and then the truth will come out in the end. Whether Ohtani is telling the truth or not still remains to be seen. But I will say there are a lot of people that are rushing to Ohtani's defense, saying that his story is indeed believable just because of the relationship with translators and players who are playing in the United States. It does seem to be pretty common that those people would have access to the players' financial accounts.
There's so many things with that. Why they let everyone talk to begin with is beyond me. I'm with you. I think this could not have been handled any worse than what they did. But what kind of effect early on does this have on Ohtani, the Dodgers, this hanging over the head? And it doesn't sound like it's going to go away anytime soon.
Yeah, Joe, I don't know that this story is going to go on and on and on. I think, Joe, your take is correct. And I think as people who have done this, and Joe, you've been doing this forever too, like the initial prisoner of the moment thought is, oh my gosh, this is going to go on forever. And then it ends. And then the next story happens. there's a basketball player on a 10-day contract who potentially, allegedly, is, doing some salacious things. And then we're on to that story. That story's not going to go away anytime soon. And then it does. And then the next story happens, So I look, if there was a situation for this to happen to where it could go away quickly, guys, let's be real. It would be with the Dodgers. Honestly, if Ohtani wasn't on the Dodgers, what would their season win total projection be? 98, 99? Like, they're still going to be a really good team anyway. I think Ohtani in the end will be fine. I think the Dodgers will be fine. But again, that's pending this investigation. If baseball finds anything different from what we're talking about here, then, Joe, in that point, it would be a completely different conversation.
Yeah.
Talking about storylines not going away anywhere, that's the Atlanta Braves and how good they've been in Major League Baseball, quite frankly, for the past 25 to 30 years. But you know what? Getting you ready for opening day is very important, and Craig Mish does that with the best of them. Let's take a look at a clip here with Alex Anthopoulos, the GM and president of baseball operations for the Braves, and their outlook on this season.
The quick additions, I guess, that you made to the team offensively was the move to get Jared Kelenic, and then late in the spring, getting Adam Duvall. But top to bottom, this is the strength of the Braves, I would say, going into the season. Would you agree, based off what you saw last year, this year in the spring?
Yeah, there's no doubt. It was a historic offense in terms of home run totals and runs scored and slugging percentages and things like that. So largely the group comes back. Now, some guys had obviously incredible seasons, MVP seasons and so on, and all-star seasons. We had 8 all-stars last year, 6 on the position player side. So, to expect everybody to repeat that, that's probably not fair. But the talent is certainly there to have a strong offensive club again.
Craig, in my mind, the best overall general manager in baseball is Alex Anthopoulos, and the Braves every single year, one of those teams that you expect to win a pennant and or get to the World Series with a chance to win it. We take a look at them this season, the win total over 100 wins. It actually comes in at 101.5 to win the NL East, a heavy favorite at minus 280 against a very good Philadelphia Phillies team. The pennant listed at plus 250 in the World Series at a plus 450 price. Let me ask you this, the outlook on this season, but also the Braves' MO, identifying young talent, signing them, and quite frankly, it seems like it always works out for them. Genius.
Yeah, and look, I think the one thing that's also important to mention here is the fact that, that Alex has a lot of good people working for him, too. Like, this isn't, a one-man organization. That's not the way that baseball works. In fact, he has an assistant general manager named Ben Sestanovich who interviewed for the general manager position of the Marlins last year, too. Inevitably, the Marlins hired Peter Bendix there, but that's another name to keep in mind for the future. I think he's going to be a GM in the next year or two somewhere. So there's a lot of, high-fiving to go around with Atlanta. Now, in terms of the topic of their season win total in their future, I mean, you could easily see the Braves having the best record in baseball this year. There's no question about it if their pitching stays healthy. Chris Sale is going to have to be a big part of that, I think, going into the year because he'll replace some of the other starting pitchers that pitched for them at the end of last season. But in order for the Braves to go further than they have, Donnie, I think it's fair to say that, every good president, every general manager sort of has to take a look at their tactics at the end of the season and how they handle things. And I don't know what the change will be, but I would assume, guys, the Braves are going to have to change something up, whether this would be acquiring more players at the trade deadline, which would be maybe playing harder at the end of the season in case you have a bye, so you don't have to sort of worry about what could potentially come in an early exit in the postseason. So I would guess the Braves will change the strategy up a little bit this year to make a deeper push into the postseason.
All right. So I got to ask you, as long as I have you there, because I'm this close to putting the bet in on the Miami win total here, Craig, and I am deathly scared of the pitching and the injuries. Perez, what's the latest on him? Alcantara's probably out into the near future. It just seems like everything is starting to pile up and a lot more questions than answers right now with this starting rotation of Miami. Plus, they went, 33-14 in one-run games last year? Is there a concern in the organization that the pitching will hold up?
Yeah, look, I think that is there, Joe. Here on SportsGrid, it is the only team in baseball that I generally don't talk about any betting with, whether it's the season win totals or the individual games, just because in covering the team, even though there are no rules, I'm just staying far away, from any discussion on it. But as far as the team is concerned, yeah, they had a lot of luck last year. They won a lot of one-run games. We're going to have the president of baseball operations, Peter Bendix, on the show on Newswire later today, so he'll give an update on Yuri Perez and sort of where things are at. But, as far as their season is concerned, they did make the postseason last year. I know they would love to make the postseason again this year. As you said, Joe, the injuries have piled up. And again, Jorge Soler hit almost 40 home runs last year. They really did not replace him. So we're going to have to kind of see how the season progresses.
Yeah, Soler out to the Giants. I really like that move a lot. But if we're looking at the MVP markets, and again, just a hot topic here, we're looking at Ohtani at a plus 950 price at the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you were to place a wager on Ohtani, would you be worried about whether this hangs over his head or Major League Baseball stepping in with he's got to take some time away to figure things out here?
Yeah, Donnie, this is the easiest question to answer that you've asked me in the start of the interview. The great thing about legalized sports betting on FanDuel, DraftKings, or wherever you're betting is that you have opportunities everywhere else to make bets. Just stay away from this one. Do something else.